All right, guys. What time is it? 12 p.m. On Thursday. This could only mean one thing. We're going live, and we're sharing some of the golden nuggets in terms of how to build your photography business or how to make more money with it. Whether you're starting from the very beginning, which that's where usually where people are. A lot of people are trying to establish this, sort of like a side gig, build something of their own. Their implement their creativity in the process. And every Thursday, I go online basically to share what has been working for me for the last 17 years. And I touch on all the components. Before I get into it, my name is Marcin. I've been doing this for 17 years and successfully. And now I'm here kind of teaching the masses. So if you're curious, like what works, what can you implement into your business, where should you start? I cover everything from like camera. Let's think. There's like 7 modules. I can even cheat. If you look down here at the logo, right in the corner, you're gonna see 7 different colors, and it's for a reason. Because there's really 7 components. The way I think about it is there is a component where we cover the camera skills, technicalities, buttons, things, functions, and the way to shoot. Then you have client interaction. You got to talk to people. You got to get together. There's probably a sales script component that you have to master. There's packages, pricing, things you have to talk to people about. So that's number 2. Number 3, you have to then edit images. So I cover everything from primary Lightroom. There's a little bit of Photoshop, a little bit of AI, obviously. And that's component number 3. Component number 4, let me test myself. Component number 4, there's interaction, there's editing, there's business. So component number 4 is business. And this is where we talk about just anything legal, finances, accounting. Also, I talk about packages too, because people always ask the question of how to price packages. What's the anchoring point? How high should I go? Is it okay to charge this much? So anything business related, building websites, establishing stuff, and building online galleries, that's where we kind of get into in that section. Component number 5 is actually logistics of the actual event. So whether you're doing portraits, whether you're doing headshots, whether you're doing corporate work, whether you're getting into events, that's what I cover in that module. And last component, which is really the first component, is really your mindset, which is a lot of us get stuck because it's this imposter syndrome, especially for those of you guys that are like, maybe completed a little bit of school and you're already maybe working 5, 10, 15 years. You have some sort of maybe career established already. It's going to be much harder because your brain just works in that space. And now suddenly telling yourself that you're a photographer, it's a very new thing. And a lot of people get stuck there. And then there's this productivity thing, and it's like there's a component to cover your mindset, so to get you going, to understand what's happening with you, because a lot of people don't pursue it just because they're mentally blocking themselves. It's not the technicalities, it's not that they don't like photography, it's not that they suck in photography. They simply don't know how to overcome those mental frameworks. So that's one of the components. And the last component, also, it's almost like a masterclass on its own, is lead generation. So this is when we talk about automation. This is when we talk about content. This is where we talk about marketing. So every week I basically go out for about half an hour, and I share with you guys something from like those different modules, right? And there's a lot of broke photographers out there. Hopefully, I don't want you to be one of them. Hopefully what I'm sharing helps. I only what's the catch? I always ask folks like, hey, join my group, join my world. There's folks I work with like one-on-one. There's folks where we get together and do like a cohort, work in a group. So I'm just honest, open about it, and that's really what happens. If this is your thing, if you think you want to make money with photography, you can definitely do it. I'm the best testament. I wasn't a photographer. I totally unrelated job, and then went into it and just kind of said, hey, $3,000-$4,000 per like event. If I can get that much money, 3, 4, 5, 10 times a year, like that would be a big deal. So, we have a family of 4. I have 2 daughters, and it's just, that's what it was. We needed money at some point, and that's really what got me going. And then 17 years later, I'm, still doing it. So this is really it. What are we going to talk about today? There's always one topic, something I want to cover. Today, I'm actually going to a little bit. I'm going to cover a little bit of the basics, and I'm not talking camera. I'm talking a strategy that you should be taking when you are starting your photography business. A lot of times, folks are like, well, but okay, I want to do photography, but what do I do? Do I do real estate? Do I go into do product photography? Do I work with businesses? Usually it's like, I'm just gonna work with people, and totally get it. That's the mindset, especially when you're starting. And then you're going to figure out kind of where you land. So this is exactly what we're going to talk about today. I'm going to give you a pretty good strategy. This is something I would do if like you took everything away from me and I had to just kind of start from scratch. This is exactly what I would do. And let me just make sure I have the slides here ready. All right, cool. So that's exactly what I'm going to be sharing with you guys today. Before I get going, I did mention the group. If it's something, if later on you feel like you are enjoying the content, you can always find me. Let me see if I can throw a link for you guys. If you're watching maybe live on YouTube, or you can just simply scan the QR code. If you're watching on your phone, you can always type this in, easyproimage.com/group. And this will get you to the group. For those that are curious, like, what was the other thing? Start. This is basically when I run like an assessment for people that are trying to figure out, like, okay, so I'm trying to build this photography thing. I've built a couple components, but I'm not really sure where I am. Where are the gaps? What else is needed? I recommend they go through this assessment. It's totally free. You just go in there, but you do have to answer like 30 or 40 questions. And this thing will actually help you assess kind of where you are, like what else is needed. Is it the content that sucks? Is it your personal brand that sucks? Is it something with the camera? Is it something, in your behaviors or subconscious mind? This thing will definitely help you. So 3 ways of, how you guys can find me. And once we have the other thing, before I get going, also, I would like to encourage you guys. So this goes live on few platforms, but if you are watching on FaceTime, I always do this live stream in the group. That's why there's a benefit of joining the group, because when you join a group and you watch the live, you can actually ask questions in real time. So as I'm going with my thing, and if you have questions, if you're stuck, or if you simply think of like a subject topic, always helped me tremendously, just because I can then go back and say, oh, Kristen had a question about this, and I can actually address your questions here live or inside the group. So it's like this personalized approach where I'm gonna try to help you individually and answer your individual questions. Just scanning the phone. Looks like everything is working. I think we can get going. And the subject, again, as I said earlier, maybe you're just tuning in right now, is, and for those of you that don't know, I usually have a slide deck for you guys. So let me switch over here and take a look at the first slide. And the title is The Photographer's Path from Passion to Profession. Sounds very serious, but it's exactly what I said. So how can we build this from A to Z, so that there's actually some logic behind this, and I will explain why, but there's actually better ways of doing this instead of sometimes trying to just simply dive in, right? And then overwhelm yourself. A lot of photographers sometimes try to jump into an area which may sound like easy because it looks easy, but it may actually be overwhelming logistically. And that's why we try to slice it and dice it to make it easy, so we can do it step by step. It's like riding a bike, right? First, get on and try to push yourself a little bit with the wheels. Balancing wheels, and then we're going to take the wheels off, and you're going to get going and gain momentum and make more money in the process. So the slide says every photographer's journey follows a natural progression that mirrors both artistic growth and business development. Guys, super, super, super important. A lot of times we think photography is just creative taking photos. It is not. A lot of photographers fail because that's what they think. There's actually a business model behind it that we kind of have to follow. We have to understand those components. That's why we have one of the modules dedicated to this stuff. But this framework will help you navigate your evolution from casual shooter to sought after photographer. So the idea here is basically, it's a process, right? You just got to take it easy, and go through it step by step. I actually have it segmented here in stages, and this is what I would recommend somebody starting would implement, right? So I have two daughters, 12 and 14, and I'm actually taking them through this exact journey because they said, hey, Dad, like, they don't want to kind of commit to the other just normal regular jobs, right? They want to make some money on the side, and we're in a process right now to kind of building this out and making sure that it works for them. So this is exactly the advice that I would give to my kids. So this is just, it's super valuable, and I think it worked for me, and I'm sure it'll work for you once you have it implemented. But the first stage is really when we're beginning to work. We have our equipment, whether it's rented equipment or our own equipment, and we're looking around on where to start. And I always say, just start with your friends and family members, right? I mean, obviously that's what everybody does. And not the only, but one of the tips that I give them is that try not to put anybody on the spot. What do I mean by that? So when you're asking around, when you're starting, so you have the idea of starting, you want to go out there and ask people, try not to put them on the spot. Don't ask them directly, would you like to work with me? Just tell them a little bit of a story. Just say, hey, here's what I'm attempting on doing. I have the equipment. I would like to start, and I would like to start slow. And because I'm starting, like, I'm just asking closest friends and family, like, maybe you know somebody that would be interested because I'm doing, let's say, 3 family sessions or 3 individual portrait sessions for somebody, and I'm looking for 3 friends or 5 friends. Do you know anybody? And guess what? A lot of times people will actually respond. They'll say, yeah, sure, I know somebody, but can you do it for me? So this way you take the pressure off. And if they're not interested, it's cool because they can say, hey, I'm going to look around. I'll let you know, or I actually know somebody. So that's always better approach than putting them on the spot and asking them, hey, is it a yes or no? It creates sort of this weird vibe and situation. So that's number one. There is no, like, what are the benefits? So let's take a look at the slide. I'm going to actually read it off the slide and then talk about it a little bit to provide you guys with more context. So this one says the journey begins with capturing moments for friends, your safe testing ground, and there's zero financial pressure, allows for creative experimentation, build technical skills through trial and error, develop your eye without client expectation, learn to direct subjects who are comfortable, learn to direct subjects that are comfortable with you, and while the perceived value is low, this foundation stage is crucial for building confidence and discovering your style. So let me now translate it. What does this all mean, right? So no money exchange. So automatically no expectation, right? If somebody knows it's free and you're honest about it, they know what the deal is. You know what the deal is. You don't feel as much pressure at all. You can experiment, right? They're not expecting certain style. You're just starting, so they really have nothing to compare against, right? And you can just experiment. You can try different things. You can try different lenses. You can try different, not necessarily cameras, but like lenses. You can try different style of editing. You can even try different products if that's something that you're offering. Maybe you can, introduce them to like a Canva product or just a printed product, maybe some sort of like a mini book product. That's going to come later in the process a little bit. But what I'm saying is you have all the freedom in the world. Nobody paid anybody anything. You're just doing somebody a favor, and that's where you're starting. If you get more than, if you really get some serious interest, you can consider charging for the very first one. I would just give, if you're at the very beginning, I would just, do it for $0. It's always even better to do it for 0 than like $100. Because if people pay you even $50, they pay. They have the expectation. They bought a product. So now everybody's hooked and you're putting pressure on yourself. What if something doesn't work? What if something is not up to your expectation? You can just turn around and say, hey, listen, here's what it is. I did my best. And everybody's happy. And then you can progressively build from that point on. So first, no money is exchanged. So expectations obviously are according to the deal, right? And then you focus on really the comfort of the situation. So like it's a person that you already know, or even if it's a referral, it's not paid. You can, there's actually, I did an episode recently on using cheat sheets. Maybe you have one of your cheat sheets with you, and you just kind of go to town and you show up and you do the photography. It's basically like a trial and error kind of a thing. And not only you're learning how to be with another person in the situation of like where you're taking photos, but you're learning the process, right? No pressure, no money exchange. You're just kind of focusing on the moment, like, oh, okay, so this is what the session looks like, right? And then you're as you do it, you learn the equipment because with no pressure. So you don't want to show up to a wedding for the first time, a paid one where somebody gave you $3,000, let's say, and then not knowing really what you're doing with your equipment, right? That would be a big no-no. So you just make sure that this is not something you are starting with. Sometimes people may approach you to say like, hey, listen, maybe a friend or a family member, and say, hey, you like, since you're a friend, like, do you mind shooting the wedding? It's just gonna be great. I'm not telling you not to do it. You do with your life what you want to do with your life. But what I'm saying is it's a lot of pressure. There's a lot going on, and I would advise you against doing it as sort of your first thing. The slide mentioned technical skills. I mentioned develop your eye without client expectation. Not only you're gonna work on style and lenses, but even with editing. So in this process of just doing 3 sessions, maybe 5 sessions, if you want to go heavy, do 10 sessions, maybe get all the kids from the neighborhood. I advise my daughters to like, hey, once we're at this stage, you're just going to ask your friends. We're going to set up like a nice location, maybe 2 locations. We're going to take them through this process, and you're just going to offer them, free photos. So the value at the very beginning when you're doing this with friends, especially for free, is low, right? So there's no expectations or low expectations. Value is low. So obviously you're not, you can't really charge a lot. Even when you're doing portraits, I will mention some pricing at the end, maybe towards the end. Maybe I'm going to try to bring up pricing as we go through different stages. But for a photography session, I think it's safe to say that like if you're starting at around $200, $300, $400, that's probably great. So the price is not super high. For some, it may actually be good enough to stay at this level, and there's no problem with that. If you just want to do it for fun, if portrait photography is your thing, you can stay at that level and just kind of scale through the amount of the quantity of the shoots that you bring in, right? So that's totally okay. The next step here. Oh, one thing I forgot to mention at the bottom of the slide, perceived value is low. This foundation stage is crucial for building confidence and discovering your style. I think I've said enough. You guys know what I'm talking about. So the very next slide here will be stage 2. In stage 2, we're talking about family and portrait photography. This is a real deal. It's no longer kids from the neighborhood, right? Or your friend from work, but family and portrait photography. Now we're talking about emotional investment. So let me just rearrange my screen here a little bit. All right, cool. So with the emotional now aspect and investment in the picture, we have increased stakes. Now people are gonna take those photos. They're probably gonna hang them on their walls. They're probably gonna exchange them with family members. They probably will allow some people to go to online gallery, maybe download some photos. It's not uncommon for people to download your photos and create some coffee books, canvases, just images they're gonna hang around the house, maybe their office. So now the stakes are higher. Now you're increasing somebody's image. You're increasing somebody's value. If somebody cherishes, family as a value, it's a huge deal. Now they go emotionally from this like, hey, it's just me. Now it's a bigger deal. It's something they're going to cherish. Maybe it's not uncommon for people to do their family photography, once or twice in their life, like in their lifetime, right? So they're automatically able to pay more for that. They like I said, they will, they'll frame this stuff. They will probably gift some stuff. They may use your photography for Christmas cards that's coming up, right? So it's a little bit of a different level. The slide says these images become cherished, keepsake, framed, gifted, and displayed prominently in homes for years. That is true. Emotional value, the sentimental worth of family portrait justifies charging for your time and expertise. Now you're working with a group of people. It's not one individual. And especially with family photography, one thing that people tend to forget is that it's a little harder, because now you're not working with one individual. And especially if you have, like this example on the slide, little kids, it will be challenging in the sense that, kids don't always like to or want to cooperate with photographers. So now the stakes are higher, there's a little more pressure, but also, the price goes up. So it's like, okay, where are you comfortable? Do you want to stay with portraits and just do portraits and just kind of, do not go out of that comfort zone to the next one? Sure, but like with portraits, technical growth, learn to manage multiple subjects, capture genuine expressions, and deliver consistent quality. Once you develop this next level of skills, because at the beginning it's just you, it's the subject, and you just know your camera. With family photography now, with the little group, you have to now manage people. You kind of have to be okay with emotions, especially when dealing with kids. People sometimes run late, especially families, little kids. Things happen all the time. So you have to know how to control your emotions so that you're not anxious and nervous, and you can just approach your engagement in sort of this calm fashion, right? So this is where you start charging. Typically, for family photography, on the slide I said this stage is where many photographers, let me bring it up. This stage is where many photographers begin monetizing their craft. Typically charging $250 through $750 per session as they build their portfolio. It may vary on where you are, but I always, when I'm working with somebody, when we're actually setting up pricing and packages, we talk a lot about value, because a lot of photographers are in the price game. And that game leads to one place only, to the bottom. Because if you're going to start, lowering your price because somebody else has a higher price, it's not a way to go. Your business doesn't have, at that point, will not have enough of a margin to, like, for you to grow. Maybe you run ads. There's no money for operations. So you're essentially suffocating yourself. It's a slow death. So never play that game. That's why always be bold with your price. Always be confident. Always, that conviction has to be there. And this confidence that I'm talking about comes from competence, right? So if you're not really sure how to do it, or you're gonna struggle with your own pricing. But if you know that you did enough sessions, let's say it's portraits, you did 3, 5, 10, you're definitely going to be confident to now go approach the group or family. And because you did it so many times, that's why I always say pad it. Do more free sessions. I understand that you're just paying with your time. But if you do it enough, this second level, the second stage becomes easier, because then you're working with groups, and you can and it just feels so much easier. So after we mastered this level, you can usually hang in that space for a couple months. For some of you, it's not really the time; it's just number of repetitions. So if you're going to be able to do, let's say, 20 family sessions, that's more than plenty to start thinking about the next stage and start thinking about the corporate game or the event wedding game. Because, again, we're going to be raising our prices. So that's when you enter, once you're ready, that's when you enter stage 3. Back to the slide for a second here. And stage 3, time and genre management. So it's corporate and events, which in events, I really mean weddings. As you move into more demanding assignments, mastering these areas become crucial. So here are the areas: scheduling precision. You got to know about timing. Genre flexibility, the ability to seamlessly switch between portrait detail, candid, product photography with a single session. A lot of people underestimate that. Like they don't understand that when you're going out there and taking pictures of a wedding, there's a lot of genres of photography mixed in. And you don't have to be an expert in all of them, but you kind of have to have some sort of, that's why shooting family and individuals forces you into understanding the light, the subject, what are they wearing, how do you position them, depending on what they're wearing, right? By the time you get to events and corporates, you already know this information. And then client management, it's always better to manage one single individual at the very beginning and then switch over to this corporate communication. It's a little different. There's some nuances that need to be incorporated. There's another video that I did about sales cycle when I actually, not sales cycle, I did another video on client journey. This is kind of the process that they go into. Depending on the type of client, the journey may be a little different, of a lot of similarities, but you have to know how to manage your clients. And now at the bottom here, you guys can see this multi-genre proficiency is what truly elevates you from the hobbyist to professional, because now you have experience. Maybe you did portraits for about 6 months and then family pictures for about another 6 months. This timeline, like I said, it's not about time, it's about how many can you squeeze into. You know, if you can do 10 portraits in a month and then 10 family in the next month, you're on your way to go to this corporate and event game very, very quickly. So pricing now, you guys can see it on the slide, is from about $2,500 to $7,500. It really depends. This is the wedding range, and I said 75 and up because, and this is probably going to blow your mind if you are not, if like you may not be even aware of what photographers may be charging in a wedding space. But I got to tell you, about 3 years ago, I had a conversation about one of the like lead photographers in the US at least. And I think the price at that time, this is again 3 years ago, was close to $60,000 per wedding. There's no science behind it. It's just personal brand, the right packaging, the right pricing, and the right clientele. Because once you score 1, 2, 3 of those clients, then it's just word of mouth. There's really no magic, no science behind it. And then you can, the sky's the limit. I am being more realistic with you guys because $2,500 is really super, super cheap when you're shooting events. And for me, I remember when I first started and I was thinking about like, can I get to 4K? Because this would almost be like a tax return every month instead of once a year. It was a huge deal for us, and this is really what got me into a game. It wasn't really the creativity or the photography. I just wanted to make money, and that's really kind of how I started the journey. But started it the same way, with portraits, with family, with groups, and then a little bit of corporate. And if you don't think corporate, think of like local businesses. People need actual like professional headshots for their LinkedIn profiles, their Facebook profiles, for their businesses, for their websites, for their marketing materials. So you can kind of build up, like I said, and then when you end up with on a corporate level and events, this is what you can expect to charge. Like I said, scheduling, because you got to manage the timing. You have to know what's going on. You have to prepare the client. You have to understand client expectations. Sometimes you have to have, especially if it's corporate, you have to understand where they're going. How are they going to use their images? Is it going to be website? Is it going to be marketing? Is it going to be billboards? Because you have to understand more about resolutions and just nuances, like I said, for the different genre. Same with weddings. You're going to talk to a client, a bride or groom, or both, and then you guys are going to figure out like what's the theme, what are the colors, how are we going to arrange this, where are we going with the style. So that's just what it is. That's part of the game. So stage 3, this is eventually where you land. And like I said, I already mentioned, you have to, like when you're in stage 3, you have to understand a little bit of portrait, product, candid photography, because it requires maybe a different approach, maybe a different lens, maybe different processing. So those are the nuances. And then we have, what do we have here? Stage 4 in this process is value and pricing strategy, monetizing your expertise. So I was mentioning the prices, and it's like, well, yeah, but like, why is it different? Like I said, the stakes are different, right? It's different when you take pictures of your friend, and let me switch over to the slide. When you take pictures of your friend, where you can charge them $100, and if something doesn't work, you can just bring them back and take more photos. It's no problem. Just repeat the process, especially if they didn't pay. Like, what's the big deal, right? So with friends, I said $100 building experience and portfolio. There's really no pressure. You can build it up. You can do it for $0. Then you can switch over to 100. You can go as far as, you know, 250 for it. It's a normal price, right? So normal price range. So that would be your level. And then family portrait sessions. Then you kind of get better. And then you switch over to charging, you know, 250 to 750. Like I said, it's emotional keepsakes that have their perceived value. People are emotionally invested in your product. They're going to be hanging it on the walls, framing it, and sharing it. So automatically in their head, it's all psychology. They perceive value as being higher. So that's your next level. And then when we go to corporate work, depending on what the client needs, sometimes it could be just personal brand, somebody taking photos for their own business. But if it's something that's, you know, like brand representation and like marketing assets, now they're sharing with other companies, which automatically mean they're you know, if you have impact on improving the image of somebody's company, that automatically brings more money on their end. And what that means, you're basically, it's almost like we can compare it to commission-based work, right? So to an individual, you know, $1,200 or $6,000 obviously would be a lot. To business, it's a different ball game. It's the pricing is intentionally at that level, because if somebody pays you $6,000, but you bring the value of their brand and their business to 60,000, they only paid you 1/10 of the value. So to them, it's totally worth it, and to you, escalate this ascension to that level is very important, because at that point you're automatically making more by providing essentially the same service. It's like, what's the difference of taking pictures of your neighbor versus taking pictures of a guy that's a professional, maybe a lawyer, maybe a doctor, maybe a business owner, and at that point you can charge higher prices. And then weddings and major events, 3,500 to 10,000 and plus. My last coach that I worked with, his pricing was at around $26,000 for a high-end package. This is something he anchors against, and then he actually works down. Don't worry about this whole vocabulary lexicon of anchoring. It's just there's actually some science behind setting up your pricing. If you want to know more, I'm actually gonna pause for a second, and if maybe you join a little later, you guys can go and check out this link, because if you're in the Facebook group, you actually have ability to ask questions either live as I'm doing the call, or you can rewatch it later. And that's, if you're interested in anchoring pricing, you can always leave a comment below. If you're on YouTube, let's say, or X, give me leave a comment, and I can go back to you and answer your particular questions. But like I said, back to the photographer, he was actually charging 26 as a top package, and then his average package, let's say, was around like 16,000. So it's not uncommon, but it's super like easy, I almost want to say, to charge 35, 4,000, 5,000, between 35 and like $6,000 is usually where weddings are. If you know what you're doing, if you're just sort of like a person with a camera, running and gunning, you can probably do it for 1,000 or two, but like, what's the quality? And word spreads quickly. So you want to make sure that you're doing the right thing for the right price, and people don't mind paying because we can tell quality, right? And then after this, branding and niche positioning, finding your focus. So this is not really about maybe the progression and the steps, But something I wanted to bring up to you guys, because I see photographers making this mistake all the time, and it's essentially, the riches are in the niches. A master of one trade out earns the sort of jack of all trades. And here I wanted to highlight just two things: narrow your focus, specializing in one area like weddings or newborns or real estate builds deeper expertise and attracts ideal clients. It builds your network. Like, focus on one if you can. Target your avatar, identify and speak directly to your perfect client through all marketing channels. The messages are going to be different. Like, it's going to be different if you're talking to moms that you would like to attract for their family sessions, but it's going to be different when you talk to brides, where you talk to them about their weddings. It's going to be different if you talk to corporate clients about their shoots, and building their brand and elevating value of the company. So you can see how different it could be. A lot of people do this common mistake of like trying to cast the wide net, and well, photography, everybody can use photography, but like, who are you talking to? And you guys can probably relate as you watch different advertisements and commercials. As they kind of show on the screen, they usually go like, "Do you have a back pain? Do you experience whatever those syndrome?" It's like they are not talking to anybody that can take drugs. They are talking to a specific individual, specific. That's what in the business world it's called specific avatar, because our ears, if you do have problems with back aches or headaches, your ears are going to pick up on it, your brain will pick up on it, and immediately the ad will get your attention. And that's exactly what we're trying to create with here with branding. So even if you're interested in shooting different genres, I say split them up. Maybe create different websites, or at least on the same website create two different experiences. So when they come in, you can basically say, are you here for a wedding? Are you here for portraits? And then depending on the selection, they can go into a different section of your website to just, you want to surround them and submerge them into this experience of just weddings. Like, nobody that's looking for a wedding photographer, let's say, goes onto your website to look at pictures of dogs. So very important. I'm just going straight to the point because that's a mistake that a lot of people make. So just make sure that you guys are focused on one thing. And then separate multiple niches. Yeah, that's what I just covered. If pursuing different specialties, create distinct brands. It even says brands. I'm talking about splitting a website, but like, create distinct brands and websites to avoid the confusion and potential clients. You don't want to have a high-level corporate client go into your website to look at other people's weddings. So you guys get the point. Your clear positioning becomes your competitive advantage. If somebody do like a test with yourself, let's say, I don't know, I'm into cars, so it's like, I always, if I wanted to like go to I don't know, like, depending on what you drive, but like the brand of your car, you probably go to a dedicated dealer that focuses on that car than like a local one that kind of does it all, right? Because it's this perceived value that we're like, yeah, well, this guy can probably do it cheaper, but he kind of does it all. I'd rather bring it to the right dealership, and these guys have seen the same problem and they work on the same car all the time, and it's like, that's just exactly what happens. It's like when you're getting your hair done, like, it usually takes a while to probably find a hairstylist, right? If you just don't go into any salon and like, yeah, I'm here for you to make me pretty. So you guys get it. It becomes your sort of a competitive advantage. People then go to you because you're serving that particular avatar, that particular client. And that was did we miss anything? Separate multiple niches, pursuing different specialties. Yeah, okay. So brands, like I said, not at the very beginning, not when you're starting. You don't want to be creating different brands at the very at the get-go. Just focus on one thing. Like I said, just to summarize, it was like friends or family, portraits, maybe headshots on the way to corporate, and then events. This was the order. And I believe that was it. At the before I give you the last thing, because what I'm going to try to do is create like a little PDF that would maybe go with the steps for those of you that maybe didn't take notes, but like you're interested in the information, and I'll try to post it. I will post it in our group. Again, if you are watching this outside of our Facebook group, you can either scan the QR code, or you can access easyproimage.com/group, and you're going to be forwarded over to our Facebook group. When I post the files, any sort of additional material that may be helpful to you guys, I included under files tab. And also, I know Facebook, when we record this, they usually take it away after 30 days, the live recordings. You will be able to find those recordings under guides. I always go in there and I kind of put them in the right order, just so this way you can go and always reference. If you miss something, if you want to rewatch something, it's always going to be in the group. And this was really it for today. I hope this was helpful for you guys, that it kind of helped you understand the different stages, how to tackle them. If you have any questions, any comments, if there's anything you wanted to get in touch with me, there's a couple links here. It's actually this side, right? There's Facebook. You can there's a Facebook group. You can go to my profile and just send me a message. You can also find us on Instagram. That is it for today. I don't have a topic for next week. If I get a good comment, I may actually focus the topic based on somebody's comment. So that would be super cool. Other than that, I'll see you guys next Thursday at 12 o'clock. Thank you again for your time. If you have consumed this material, it means the world to me. Thank you so much, and see you next time. Bye.